hot take, spicy take, fiery, picante flavor take. This was not a bad Nintendo Direct. It was not. It simply was not bad. Was it maybe a disappointing Nintendo Direct? Was it maybe similar to the one we got last September where it wasn't terrible, it just was kind of like not quite the Nintendo Direct that Nintendo should have delivered? Perhaps. But it was not bad. There was actually a lot of really good stuff in here. It was missing a lot of like the big crazy Nintendo first party bombshells. But yeah, no one can convince me that this was a bad Direct, as I see many people claiming. I mean, of course, it's all subjective, I know. I'll go more into my overall thoughts at the end, but as always, let's just talk about the stuff that stood out to me. And, there actually was, there was quite a lot. Let's, instead of going chronologically, let's start by talking about the third parties, which I guess I recognize is gonna be most of this discussion, is the third parties. The funny thing about this Direct is that, like, I don't know, if this were a partner Direct, it would have been the best partner Direct, hands down, a million times over. They really, really brought the third parties. So many ports, so many really great high-profile ports of really great games were announced for the Switch 2 right here. And it's one of many reasons why I feel like this Direct was good. It's just that, like, I don't know, you can't look at a Direct all by itself, just what it offers. You have to look in the greater context and, like, expectations kind of matter. And someone in the chat had a really good point where it was like, the Switch 2, if anything, is outpacing the Switch 1 in terms of, like, really great ports, and the ports are performing way better. Like, they are better ports, and yet somehow there's, like, less wow factor, because on the Switch, it was, like, so much more impressive whenever they got one of these games running on Switch, and then you could add in, like, the novelty of playing these games handheld. It is not quite as fresh and novel anymore. And so, like, now we're getting all of these ports. It should just be better. On paper, this is just a way better scenario. And yet, because it doesn't have that wow factor, it almost just feels like Nintendo's catching up with them, So, I don't know. I don't even know how fair that is. But I think that might be kind of what's going on. Because really, though, so many ports. Not just leftovers, but a lot of really great games, many of which are, like, on their way. They've not even been released yet. Capcom brought a whole bunch. They announced that they were finally developing Monster Hunter Wilds for Switch 2 a few days ago. They didn't show that here, but then on top of that, here, they showed off Onimusha, Way of the Sword, Dragon's Dogma 2, and Devil May Cry 5. That is 3 very high-profile Capcom games. Yeah, Onimusha's not even out yet. That comes out this September. And, they look good. They look solid. Yeah, those first 2 in particular, they not like the highest frame rates ever, but they look pretty darn stable. Visuals look pretty good. Yeah, out of all of those, Dragon's Dogma, that's the one that appeals to me most. That's a game that I really, really did want to play when it launched, and I didn't get around to it. So it's pretty exciting, the idea of I still don't know if I will. It's always hard to jump into these big, massive RPGs. But that's a game that's really, really high on my list of games that I would like to play. And so now it's coming to Switch 2. That is a tasty, tasty prospect. So it's really great to see Capcom just supporting the heck out of Switch 2. So yeah, again, like that is a handful of really great ports right there. They announced Stellar Blade for Switch 2. That is not a game that I am personally into, but I think it was a pretty big deal when it came out, so there you go. That's also coming to Switch 2, another very high-profile game. Rayman Legends Retold, that was announced for Switch 2. That's another pretty cool one. Ninjala 2, The Uncharted Planet. I don't actually know how popular the first Ninjala game was. I remember just kind of being like a Splatoon-ish, sorta. kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. That's at least a thing. We had Jujutsu Kaisen Rumble Survivathon, a name that never fails to make me laugh. Not a Switch 2 exclusive, but still a brand new reveal from a notable developer right here in this here direct. Then we had back-to-back announcements. Lords of the Fallen 2 and Lies of P Complete Edition. Two very, very high-profile Souls-likes. Lords of the Fallen, I have not gotten to play yet. Lies of P, I did play and loved the absolute heck out of it. And I never got around to playing the DLC, so it's very, very cool that it's coming to Switch 2, and it's going to include the DLC. So yeah, two Souls-likes, one of which looks very, very good, and then another, one of my favorite games of the last, I don't know how many years. Just an extremely good game. I will always say it is everything as good as a FromSoft game. Just super excellent. So again, two big wins. Then we had Metaphor ReFantazio, another one, another huge port. Game looks really, really super incredibly good. Now it's coming to Switch 2. Awesome. Then there was this huge Kingdom Hearts collection, like basically the original trilogy and all of their weird, confusing, various versions. I don't understand any of it, but I know that previously we only had like cloud versions, but now we have an actual real version of all of these games. So that's just a huge thing right there, leading into a trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4. Everyone was like joking. Everyone was joking that this would be where they would show off Kingdom Hearts 4. And like, we had a legit trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4. Like, again, it's third party, but like, you really cannot downplay the importance of a new trailer for Kingdom Hearts 4. And all of that so far was just ports of old games and some upcoming multiplats. Then we had some genuine reveals. Everybody in the chat was spamming Deltarune, Deltarune Chapter 5, Deltarune Chapter 5. I'm not even like up to date on like where that whole development process is, so I didn't actually know if that was realistic or not, but nobody could stop talking about it. And then there it is, we got it. Like, we got it. We got the reveal for Deltarune Chapter 5 right here in this direct. We had more. Pikuniku 2. That probably doesn't seem like that big a deal, but I really liked the first one, so I think it's really cool that we're getting a second one, and it's even in 3D this time. That's neat. Dragon Quest Monsters, The Withered World. I think this had been announced at some point recently, but not like fully revealed, so here we got a full reveal. That's pretty cool too, even if the game looks a little rough, I'm not gonna lie. But I don't know, that's still pretty cool. Final Fantasy Resonance. I may actually do a whole entire video just on this game right here. I think doing a brand new Final Fantasy in the HD 2D style, like basically giving us our first regular old turn-based Final Fantasy in like 20 years or something, that's a big deal. I feel like that's a very, very big deal. I know it's like kind of sort of based on like a mobile game, but it's not completely, but whatever. We'll talk about it more later. I don't know. I think that's a pretty darn big deal. And then we finally got more footage of Duskbloods. That was another one that's actually pretty disappointing. It really didn't show much, but it was nice that it came up again. All that to say, that's just third party. That's just third-party ports and stuff, third-party announcements, a really good mix of just, ports of old games, promises of upcoming multiplats, and even some brand new notable reveals. So yeah, third parties had an extremely, extremely strong presence in this direct, and I know that we watch directs mostly for the first-party content, but I cannot deny that the showing was very, very strong from third parties, and that is definitely worth something. Which does naturally lead us to the first party content, which, yeah, didn't quite hit the way that we were hoping or expecting. Again, we'll talk about that more at the end. Let's hit the highlights. The whole presentation began with Rhythm Heaven Groove, and even if this wasn't like the big, crazy bombshell, rocket fuel kind of beginning for a direct where just, oh man, I can't believe it started with something like that. It wasn't quite that, but it was still really solid because I have assumed all of this time. I mean, they announced this darn game like over a year ago or something. I've assumed all of this time that this would be a Rhythm Heaven game. Like it'll be fun. Maybe I'm like a little bit doubtful that I would spend the money on it if I wasn't gonna like do a review. You know, just it's kind of got the feel of some of those Switch games that are just like, yeah, it's fun if you're into this series, kind of a niche thing, but kind of a lot of money for the content on offer. However, here they did a heck of a job selling me, you know, arguing for the overall value proposition. Apparently this is not just a regular old Rhythm Heaven game. It's got a whole bunch of other modes and stuff I did not expect to see. So like the regular old game has over 80 games in it, rhythm games, and but then it's got this big multiplayer mode. It's got like 30 something multiplayer focused games. As always, I'm not super into multiplayer, but I cannot deny that it does add value to this package. Some of the game where they're like trying to grab the cake, I could not stop laughing at that. There's just something about the looks on the guys' faces. It's very, very funny. So that's cool. That's a thing. And then, completely unexpected, some sort of like RPG mode. Like I'm trying not to get my hopes up. I don't know how meaty this mode is gonna be, but it is promising to be something of like a, you know, an RPG. You're moving through dungeons and enemies or whatever. There's like you can see that you've got like levels for your different weapons or whatever. So it's got to be at least something. I'm not, you know, not holding my breath for a massive many hours long campaign or anything, but it's something. It's some sort of RPG kind of campaign with like rhythm game kind of baked in, and yeah, just very unexpected, and yeah, definitely something that is very, very appealing to me. You know, yeah, I like these games. I don't want to like sit down and feel like I'm done with it in like an hour and a half, you know, once I've like played through all the games. So I'm really happy to see there's gonna be a lot more to sink our teeth into, so that's nice. Then they announced the inevitable DLC for Pokemon Pokopia. We're getting a full expansion pass, which is going to be releasing content starting in August and then going through into next year. It looks like there are going to be 2 new towns. There's going to be a bubbly basin, an underwater town, and then the second content update is going to be, it looks like it's just something, some other additional features or something, followed by another town next year. So the base game has what, 4 or 5 major towns, I can't remember. So yeah, two new towns, which is very exciting. One is underwater. That's nice. That's just an unexplored part of the biome. And even if you don't get the expansion pass, they're still giving us a free update that gives you the ability to go underwater. So you can still like do some stuff underwater, even if you're not exploring the brand new underwater town. So that's cool. That's exciting. Pokopia is really incredibly fun. I love it a lot, so I'm looking forward to diving back into there, having some new content to play around with over the course of the next year or whatever. I don't know. It was funny because they were like, the expansion pass is available later today, and none of the content from it is available until August. But I don't know, whatever. August is not too long to wait for Bubbly Basin, so that's fun. Then we had a new trailer for Fire Emblem Fortune's Weave. Unfortunately, I still really don't think I'm into this one. I don't know. I may give it a go. I may try to do like an impressions video or something. It's not really appealing to me personally, but it does look good though. It does look cool feature-wise. It looks very cool, and that's coming out September. Just another of a million September games, so that's funny. I don't want to talk about the price yet. It's not 100% official yet. I'll probably want to talk about that in a separate video. Right now, let's focus on the Direct. But yeah, I don't know if you've heard, but something weird going on with this game's price. But whatever, the trailer was cool. Trailer is fine, looks great. DK Challenge. There's a surprising one. I mean, it's a very Nintendo kind of thing, you know, having like a weird little like challenge. Yeah, it's a lot like those like the Amiibo Tap and like the NES. I don't know, what was it called? Whatever, just like a group of a bunch of different games, challenges from different games, and you kind of play them in a row. Yeah, it's apparently just all of the DK games crammed together with little challenges from within each, which is very strange because it made a lot more sense when it was just like, oh, little, yeah, bits of NES games. But this has like I guess it has like DK Bonanza baked into it. Does it like use the data from the actual game, or like does it have like a mini version of DK Bonanza in it? I really don't know, but just like a weird little DK challenge kind of thing. And yeah, another discussion for later. It's another limited release. That's not fun at all. That's very, very not fun. If y'all were around in 2020, we had a lot of these limited release anniversary games, and it was no bueno. But yeah, we'll talk about that more later. At least I just wanted to mention that DK Challenge is a thing, or going to be a thing for a brief period, I guess. And then, boy, oh boy, you know, there were a lot of people who were disappointed with this Direct. Xenoblade fans were not among them. Xenoblade fans, they're getting everything they could possibly want. We start out, like, it's so funny. Nintendo. They do Nintendo Switch 2 edition for Xenoblade Chronicles X all by itself. And then it's like, okay, well, how long are we gonna have to wait for the other games? And then the very next thing they do is, here's Switch 2 editions for all of the other games. Xenoblade Chronicles 1, 2, and 3, all at the same time. They're all getting Switch 2 editions. Not even that, they're getting new features, they're getting new content, they're getting all sorts of new stuff, and they're all gonna run super great on Switch 2. I don't know if we're gonna have some of the same problems as we did with the X1. I know that had some graphical problems. I don't know if they ever ironed that out or what, or if some of that is gonna be seen here. But yeah, for the most part, this is a pretty good announcement here. 3 Switch 2 editions with new stuff, great. And then leading right into a full reveal of the next Xenoblade game. Not even Xenoblade Chronicles game. This is Xenoblade Genesis. It kind of sounds like they're setting up a brand new series. I don't know if from there that means we get Genesis 1, 2, 3 or what. But yeah, and like, I don't know. It wasn't even a tease. Like, this was a full reveal. A full reveal. I mean, it was a little bit weird, you know, not to complain about every little thing, but you know, like a Nintendo Direct reveal. You want to hype up the audience. You want to tease it out. You want us to be like, what is this? What is this? Oh, but instead he's just like, and we're working on the next one. Here's some stuff from it. Like, it was just kind of, I don't know. You killed a little bit of that hype by leading with just like, yeah, there's a new one. We're about to reveal the new one to you right now. Here it is. But no, yeah, like still, yeah, full reveal, mostly just like story stuff, cutscenes, but still a very good look. I also will say, you know, I've not played these games. I'm not a fan of the series. Personally, I'm a little iffy on how the game looks visually. The thing that I like to see about Xenoblade trailers, even if I don't play the games, is like the environments. Just they look really, really cool, and just seeing these just big epic vistas. Something about this one, I kind of feel like it looks worse. Like it looks worse. I don't know, the characters look okay, and yet like the background elements, it's like they, I don't know. There was a lot more of like a realism before, like much more realistic lighting, and now we're getting like this weird like cell shading thing, but like on the landscape, you're putting cell shading on the background elements. So like, I don't know. I keep watching this trailer, and am I missing something? Am I just not viewing it right? It doesn't look like it looks worse. I kind of thought the first Xenoblade game on Switch 2 would wow me, you know, like Monolith. They're really great working with Nintendo hardware. They wring every last drop out of it that they possibly can. And I just expected more from the first Xenoblade game. Something about it, it's just off. It looks kind of blurry, kind of fuzzy. It just doesn't have that like striking element. I don't know. We'll have to wait until we get a full reveal. I mean, design-wise, it looks really cool. How you're looking up and the whole world like kind of curves around. You like look up and see the reflection of an ocean. That is very cool. And yeah, overall, I cannot deny the impact of a reveal of a brand new Xenoblade game. That was basically our 2027 game. I thought that made sense, that they would probably focus mainly on second half 2026, but we'd get one game for 2027, and yeah, there it was. Then we got Nintendo Switch Sports Resort, which is, I mean, okay, this one right here, It's not the most exciting announcement, and yet I have to remind myself that these games sell very well. You know, like this is a really good example of how like us chronically online Nintendo Direct viewers, we do not represent the entire audience, so we may scoff at an announcement like this. We may be like, oh cool, new Xenoblade. Oh no, new Nintendo Switch Sports. That's stupid. That's not even a real game. I mean, this game is gonna sell 10 times as much. Like, it's just like, these games are super duper popular. They have very broad appeal. So yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's another game where like, it doesn't really bring a lot of energy to the presentation, even though I can't necessarily deny that it is a pretty big announcement. It is kind of a pretty big deal. I mean, you know, again, we'll talk about the overall thoughts at the end, but I do have to mention the thumb wrestling. Like, it's funny. There's a lot of new games in this, and yet, like, the thumb wrestling, it's really funny. You could do, like, thumb war in this game. Boy, that was the low point of the whole presentation, wasn't it? Like, at this point, most of the runtime had elapsed. We were just hurtling toward the end. Not a lot of really major stuff had been announced yet. And then, out of all of the games to do like a deep dive gameplay showcase of, it's this one. And it's the thumb war. And I think it's supposed to be funny, but like, it was not funny. I mean, it was funny. I mean, it was funny in its own way. But like, that was kind of a dire moment. That was, yeah, it was a bit of a Wii Music moment where it's just like, what is happening? What do you think we are here for? Like, I love Koizumi and the idea of him doing a thumb war and like losing. He like lost at the end. Yeah, it's entertaining in its own way, but it was just like, man, the energy was so off. The energy was so off this whole presentation, and that was the low point. I'm not gonna lie. Even though, again, this game is going to outsell probably every other game in this entire presentation. I mean, like, take all of the other, even first-party Nintendo games, apart from, like, Ocarina. This game will probably outsell them all combined. It's just, I don't know. People love this stuff. They love the Nintendo sports games. And then, of course, finally, at the end, the one more thing. Yeah, it seems all of the leaks have been true. Just all of them. I fully expect all of the leaks to be real going forward. I think in September, it's gonna be all of the other games that were leaked but were not covered in this Direct. Ocarina of Time Remake. And of course, this is going to be its own whole separate video, so I will only mention it briefly here. But yeah, no, Ocarina of Time Remake, it was real. And it closed out this presentation. And you know, it's another thing where it's a big deal. It is. And so now, just like one last time, I want to point out that like there was so much good stuff in this Direct. There really was. Between all of the third-party stuff I talked about, there was even more that I didn't mention. I think even some stuff was revealed in like the sizzle reel. We don't always get that. And then you've got a reveal for an Ocarina of Time remake, which itself is a really big deal because it does look like it's a full-blown, really good-looking remake. But again, talk about all that later. A full reveal for the next Xenoblade game, plus a bunch of Switch 2 editions. A reveal for Switch Sports Resort, which again, not super exciting, but it is kind of a big deal. It's gonna sell a lot of copies. So like that's an okay amount of stuff right there. Overall, this Direct did offer a lot of stuff. And yet, you have to look at it in the greater context. You have to look at the situation that we are in. And I wouldn't just say it comes down to our expectations. That is a really big part of it, but I think that also it was just not a very entertaining show. You know, maybe let's start there. Let's start right there. The pacing was really off. You know, I like to judge these presentations not just on what they show us, but also just how entertaining they are. They could have trimmed a lot of fat off of this presentation. I think that would have really helped. But then also they just, I I don't know. I think someone in the chat asked me, like, if there's one small thing I could have done to change the Direct that would have made it a lot better, what would I have done? And I didn't think of it at the time, but I just realized. They should have put Xenoblade at the beginning. They should have began the presentation with a big new game reveal. Because starting with Rhythm Heaven, even though that was good and they showed off new, like, modes and stuff, it just, like, I don't know. I think momentum means a lot. I think starting the presentation with something really big to kind of like get us hyped, I think that's actually really important, and this Direct didn't do that. It kind of felt like it was sort of struggling the entire time. There was kind of this feeling that we were waiting for something big most of the time, and it just didn't quite deliver. But the thing is, a lot of it was Nintendo's fault, or like, I don't know, a lot of it was the fault of the presentation itself. Like, near the end, it felt like they wanted to frustrate us. I know that's silly, there's no way that's true, and yet it felt that way, because they just kept pulling their punches. They kept teasing us and not delivering. Yeah, back to Duskbloods. We've waited over a year to get a new taste of Duskbloods, and they give us, I mean, like, we're talking moments. We're talking a handful of nearly static images. It was like nothing. It was a tiny fraction of what we saw in the first trailer. It didn't show anything. And then it cuts back to Koizumi, and he's like, what did you think? And it's like, what do you mean, what did we think? You didn't show us anything. They didn't even give us a release window. Like, we've been waiting for over a year. They only just gave us a release date for Elden Ring, and now they can't even give us a vague window for Duskbloods. The year is half over, and the best they did was announce that they're doing a network test in summer, which is cool. Don't get me wrong, that's very cool, but they couldn't even give us a date for that. They couldn't even give us a date for that. I don't know, the game probably is coming fairly soon if they're already ready to do a network test. It could just be they don't want to give us a release window even until Elden Ring comes out. I don't know. But it's just an example of how this presentation just kept teasing us with stuff. And then like, yeah, we're like, all right, we're at the end. It's Ocarina of Time Remake. It's been a weird Direct, kind of disappointing, but you know what? Give us a big, beautiful reveal of this game and we'll be okay. What do? They give us a tease, a taste, a teensy little, like just the teasiest of teases, and we have no idea why. It's coming this year. That's the thing. It's coming this year, in a few months. Why didn't you just give us the full reveal? It would have made this presentation. And then he was like, don't worry, we're gonna share more info. And it was like, in a Direct? In a dedicated Direct? No, just, we'll share more later. Bye-bye, stay tuned. You couldn't even give us that. It would have helped so much. Even just saying, look forward to this date when we'll do the full reveal, that would have helped. And I know it's coming. I know it is. You know, September, I'm sure there'll be a Direct, so at the very, very latest, September. But they'll probably show more before then. Maybe we will get a dedicated Direct. I know it'll all come in good time. But like, that right there, you could say that about the whole entire Direct and where Nintendo is right now. I know that it will all come in good time. I'm not one of those, I'm not one of those Nintendo is cooked people. Like, it's all gonna happen in a few years. I've said it a million times. In a few years, it'll be completely different. We'll have a new Smash. We'll have a new 3D Mario. We'll have a bunch of Pokemons and stuff, and it'll be fine. We don't need to worry. And I know that, like, Nintendo clearly doesn't feel like they need to worry. They are in no rush whatsoever. With Switch 1, they were hungry and they were scared after the Wii U. They had to stick the landing, so they announced all of these games, they released all of these games, and it was great, and like, the Switch 1 set the bar so high that now with Switch 2, we're kind of like waiting for them to at least almost match that same level of hype. And they're just not really interested in doing it. And I'm a little bit torn because, yeah, like, on the one hand, I get it. They really don't need to prove themselves. The Switch 2 is already successful. It's already doing just fine. And when you look at the big picture, long term, Everything is going to be all right. They're in no rush. They don't want to reveal a bunch of 2027 and 2028 games right now just to get us excited. They want to play it close to the vest and all that stuff. Sure, all of this internet discourse stuff probably doesn't even really matter that much to them. And yeah, like Switch 1, maybe it did set the bar too high. Like, the early Switch generation, the first year, you know, we're comparing this year to that first year. It was unusually good. Consoles don't usually have first years that good. Nintendo systems don't usually have first years that good. Or even first couple of years that good. So is it unreasonable for us to expect more, to want more, to be like, dude, Nintendo, you gotta convince us here. You gotta convince us that like, where's the hype? We wanna be excited. We're addicted to it. You got us addicted to Switch hype. So I don't know. Are we maybe expecting too much? Possibly. But then at the same time, it's just like, come on, like this does matter to a degree. It does. It's like you don't care at all. It's like you don't care at all about like getting us hyped. It's just, I don't know. It's probably a much bigger conversation. It's just, yeah, it's the same as the September Direct. The Direct wasn't bad. It revealed new stuff that was good. It's just that, like, we are waiting for the really big stuff. And they're kind of just not giving it, and we're kind of confused. And yeah, it's starting to feel like maybe they kind of, maybe they felt that Mario Kart World and DK Bonanza, like, those were the big system sellers. You know, that was like their equivalent of Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey. And now they can kind of coast for a bit, but we're like, I don't know, those games didn't quite scratch that itch. So we have this expectation that we're waiting for some big new thing. And Nintendo is just feeling, they're just like, it'll come. It'll come in good time. Don't worry about it. And it's just weird. And looking at this year, when it feels like the Switch 2 should be in full swing, we need to be looking at a whole bunch of new stuff. So for their big holiday game to be a remake, I think it's going to be big. I think it's going to be a pretty big deal. Again, like, we'll see more later. Ocarina of Time remake is a big deal to a degree, but it is still a remake. And we're about to get a Star Fox remake. So it's like the second year of the Switch's life, and we're looking at a bunch of remakes while we're waiting for the big stuff, and it's just weird. It's just strange. So yeah, again, it's a very similar Direct to the one in September, and I don't think either was necessarily bad. It's the expectation. We've been waiting for something big. Like, it was already surprising that Direct was the way that it was when we were expecting more, and then they didn't have one in February. So it's been 9 months since that Direct. It's been 9 months. So now we're like, all right, this is it. This is when Nintendo is really gonna knock our socks off. And for them to just not, again, it's just like, even if you could argue that both of these Directs were identical in quality, maybe they were, the expectations have only risen. The desire for something big has only grown more intense. So even if on paper this delivered a lot, it's still just not the Direct we're waiting for. There's just no excitement. There's just no hype. And it's, I don't know. It's just weird. It's just very, very weird that we find ourselves in this situation. I went out on that limb and it broke under me. In my predictions video, I was talking about how, like, I don't know. Every once in a while, the wind whispers to me and I get this little inkling that it's gonna go one way or the other, and I don't usually share it, but it usually ends up being right. And this time, I think I must have broken the spell by saying it. I said it out loud. That was I'm sorry, this Direct is my fault. I cursed it by voicing my inkling out loud. It was wrong. It's the very first time that the wind has whispered to me, and I had an inkling one way or the other, and I was just flat out wrong. It was not the Direct I was expecting. That stinks. Now I got to be skeptical every time the wind whispers to me. I don't know. The spell is broken now. So yeah, man, I don't know. it'll all happen. It'll all come in good time. It's just like, I think a lot of us were, like, it's not even like me being disappointed. I got plenty of games to play. You know, like, I don't even really care that much. I can be patient. It's more just like, I think a lot of us were really looking forward to Nintendo Discourse just being a little more fun, you know, getting a little more fun again. It just would be nice to have some stuff to, like, really look forward to, you know? And now it's just like, yeah, all right. Like, yeah. I don't know, man. I do think we'll get a Direct in September, and, you know, there we'll probably get a whole bunch of 2027 games, and we could get some really big ones. For all we know, that'll be a great one. But just, yeah, I don't know, waiting for September, getting a kind of okay Direct, waiting for February, not getting one, waiting for June, getting an okay Direct again. It gets harder and harder to, like, wait for the next one, you know? I know it won't be too long. That's not so bad. I mean, it's weird to make us wait 9 months for a Direct and then give us one 3 months later. I guess that's why I shouldn't expect a September one. But then, like, they're not going to give us just one Direct in an entire year. I don't know. They need to spread these out more. They need to, like, I think that would really help. If we had gotten this Direct in February or March, I think that would have been really good. I think that would have helped, but yeah. But as it is, this did not go over super duper well. And you know, that's something I didn't even mention, is like, all of the other companies had weirdly good showings this year, you know, like Sony, State of Play, those are most often stinkers. This one was okay. It wasn't like great or anything, but like, it was good. It showed off some games. Summer Game Fest was like the best Summer Game Fest ever. Like, there was a lot of really, really good stuff in there. Very, very strong showing. And then I didn't watch the Xbox one. Maybe I will. I might stream myself watching it. Maybe I'll do a video on that. I'm not really sure, but I heard that was also a very strong showing. So for everyone else to have all of their presentations and for everyone to agree that they're pretty good, and then for Nintendo to come out and just be like, here's Nintendo Switch Sports Resort. Like, it's just, yeah, I don't know. Just to not really have anything big or crazy to show. It's weird. But last thing I'll say, I want this to be just an example of how the games on offer do not necessarily dictate what people feel about a Direct, the overall, like, broad feelings. It really does come down to the environment that these Directs are born into and the expectations. Back in the Switch generation, there was a Direct where, like, there was like a Smash announcement, like Terry in Smash, I want to say, was like, it was a cool announcement. But like, really the biggest announcement in the whole entire Direct was Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. A remaster of a game that had already been re-released on the 3DS. That was the biggest announcement, was a remaster of Xenoblade. And I said that Direct was only okay. I didn't say bad. I said it was only okay. And I got so much hate. That was maybe the first, like, big scandal of my career, where just everyone was just dogpiling me. They were so angry at me for suggesting that Direct was anything less than amazing. And now here in 2026, we have a Direct that, among other things, among, like, Kingdom Hearts 4 trailer, Deltarune Chapter 5 trailer, Ocarina of Time remake reveal, among all of these other things, among Switch 2 editions, basically remasters of all the other Xenoblade games, we had a full reveal, a full trailer of a brand new Xenoblade game, and the overwhelming majority of people are saying they're disappointed with this Direct. Not Xenoblade fans themselves, and yet, like, just the discourse surrounding this Direct is overwhelmingly negative. Even though we got 10 times more announcements than we did in that Direct so long ago. I just want to leave you with that just as an example. How this is all so complicated, and the whims of the gamers, they change just as easily as the winds doth change directions. So, yeah. I don't know, and that's probably why we should probably spend less time paying attention to the discourse, because the discourse gonna be the way that it is. We should probably just pay attention to the games that look good. You know, it looks good. Ocarina of Time remake was probably gonna be pretty cool. You know what? I'm gonna go do a video on that, because that's gonna be pretty cool.